I think there's lots of things that athletes can do. Certainly during major games, British athletes performing well, winning medals, encourages people to go off and try something. But I think there's a really fine line between the enthusiasm that everyone feels for 2 weeks after Wimbledon to go and play tennis, to actually sustaining that and keeping active through the whole of their lives. So I think athletes provide the initial inspiration, but then it's down to governing bodies and sports clubs that when new people come in, they provide sport and physical activity in the way that encourages people to stay. So it's a sports club just being welcoming, having somebody that deals with new members, encouraging them to come back, tells them what's going on. And I think for a lot of women it's about having the right environment. A lot of women want to do physical activity with their friends, or they want to do it as a family activity. So it's making sure that it's done in the way, not that necessarily a sports club wants to deliver, but encourages women and children to come back and to want to keep doing it. But definitely having athletes winning medals in a whole variety of sports, not just Olympics and Paralympics, but at World Championships and other events, provides that inspiration that the country needs. When I was young, and I never thought I'd say that, but there were less sports to choose from. There were very traditional sports in my school. I went to a very sporty school that encouraged, but it was kind of hockey, cricket, rugby, and athletics. And now there's so much more choice. But there's also, there's lots of other things for young people to do. There's video games and the fact that we have shops open on a Sunday. It's all changed the things that are available for young people to choose from. And I think as well, parents, and I'm a parent, we've become very protective of our children in terms of not allowing them out to play in the street in the same way that happened when I was young. When I was sort of 7 and 8 years old, in the summer holidays, we used to just go out for the whole day. We might have a packet of sandwiches or, probably about 25p to go and buy something to eat. But, I think parents now are very protective about keeping their children close to home. And that changed things. Parents' lives have changed as well, because there's so many more things for parents to do. So I think it's a challenge that we have to encourage people to be active, because it's not just about elite sport. It's about being physically fit and active to lead a long and fruitful life and actually protect our health and help with illnesses. Everybody's living longer, and you want to be fit and healthy to live the best life you can. So it's a real challenge, and again it's about providing physical activity in a way that's fun and fits into the busy lives that we now all have. I think for the organising committee, they have a very clear role, which is about putting on an amazing games. With sport, there are so many different partners and stakeholders involved, and everyone has their own responsibility. So it's down to the British Olympic Association and the British Paralympic Association to ensure that the British teams we have competing there do the best job they can. But also the role of legacy. A lot of the discussion around legacy at the moment is about the hard legacy, it's about the buildings, but it's really important we concentrate on a soft legacy in terms of people's participation, enjoyment of sport, having enough coaches, having enough volunteers to be able to manage the excitement that the games will bring. So the number of organisations that can play a part in encouraging that are quite significant. And it's important that it doesn't just come from governing bodies and from the Olympic and Paralympic Association, that it comes through the health profession as well. They encourage people to think about what they should be doing. That it's 30 minutes of activity, several times a week will reap benefits, and there's loads of fun ways that you can do it. So it's actually about lots and lots of people working together to get the same results. I think when it was sort of decided that London would bid for the Games, I think there were a few people who thought that the Olympics might be shared out amongst the whole of the UK, and it has to be London that hosts the Games. Yes, there will be events of football that will be held in different places around the country, but the main events will be held in London and the sailing and rowing. But the nations and regions sort of part of the Games is very strong. I think that's sort of helped through sort of devolution in terms of the home countries and the regions of England actually understand and they have a role to play. And whether that's in terms of bringing in other countries to be based in the different nations and regions, to have their training camps. That's quite an important part in terms of the work that the countries can do at a local level. You know, when we competed for GB, if we went to Paralympic Games, we always did quite a lot of work in the area that we were staying for our holding camps in terms of schools outreach programmes, and I think that's one thing that we did very well in this country. But it's also it's about the nations and regions providing volunteers for the Games, because we want the Games to be diverse, and we need 70,000 volunteers to run the Games, and it's important that they don't just come from London, that they come from everywhere. And then it's really down to the nations and regions to make of it what they want, that they feel part of it, whether it's about having big screens in the major cities and towns around the country, so that if people don't come to London to watch the Games, they can actually be in their local community and be part of it. Or it's about running activities alongside. And also, you know, there's a cultural Olympiad, which is kind of important that we don't forget that you know, the artistic side that comes with it. And within the cultural Olympiad, it's not just about painting and drawing, it's about dance and about performance art. And that's another way that people can be more active by being involved in different things. So there's loads of things available. Sometimes it's quite hard to find out everything that's going on, but there's loads of ways that everyone can actually be part of the London Olympics and Paralympics. Well, the money for building the venues has already been allocated, and most of that's been spent. The money to put on the Olympics, to put on the show of the two Games, is being raised by private sponsorship. That doesn't come from government funding. So you know, there's not really money to be sliced from that, because that's companies deciding that they want to be part of the Olympic and the Paralympic Games. But I think one of the things with sort of participation in sport and physical activity is that it doesn't have to cost lots of money. There's lots of things that you can do that are very cheap. You can walk, you know, you can go swimming. There's loads of ways that you can be physically active with your family. Going to the local park and sort of playing traditional games that we probably don't see anymore. There's loads of things that don't have to cost a huge amount of money and can fit in with people's busy lifestyle. You know, walking to work instead of you know, going on the bus or driving. And it's just being kind of smart in what we do. I think there's an assumption that things like this always have to cost lots of money, and there's a really smart way that we can save money to help people become more physically active. The most important message for me is the more physical activity you do earlier on, and if you sustain that, then there's massive benefits later on in life, both in terms of less cost to the NHS because of obesity or diabetes or other illnesses, but also physical activity is a really important part of health and rehabilitation, and it fits all along the way. It's not an either or. Physical activity should be encouraged for everybody at a much younger age, because it will actually save money. I mean, that's the bottom line. That's kind of right now what everybody wants to hear as well. It's about how we can have an NHS that costs less money without losing staff. And I think there's lots of smart ways. I think it's true, you know, in sort of the health profession, you tend to look at people when they're ill and how you can fix that. But actually, participation and sort of physical health can actually prevent a lot of those things if you're smart about encouraging people in the right way to do it. My top tips as a parent is actually do physical activity with your children. Don't just expect them, don't sort of throw them outside the front door and think they're going to do it on their own. Children that see parents exercising and being physically active are more likely to do it. You know, use it as part of family time together, and have fun, because that's the best way to encourage children. I think, you know, for me, who comes from a elite sport background, it's probably easier because I know lots of different sports or people in sport who can help encourage my child to be active. But for me, it's about the parents doing it. Don't put the responsibility on somebody else. Don't just dump them at a sports club and expect that's where it's going to happen. Be part of your child's health, because if you don't want to do it for yourself, do it for your child.